Welcome to Detours, Understanding Acquired Brain Injury. And with us we have Pat, who's one of our general members, and we'll be seeing some videos periodically from her. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about her story and her background, and she'll share a little bit with us, and we'll talk about future videos potentially, and hopefully we'll have some help with her in the future with some in-person groups and things like that. So, hi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, that kind of thing? About,
Now this is where I'm stuck.
all right, so can you tell us a little bit about what happened with your brain injury? And
Okay, I was on my way home one Sunday from church, and I stopped at a stop sign, and I saw to my left a truck turning right. So I just wanted to go straight, so I started to go across. But I didn't know that the truck following him down the road a bit would speed up and cross over the line and go around the truck that's turning. And he hit me in the side, and I didn't see him, so we crashed in the middle of the intersection. And I jumped the curb, and I almost went to a house.
whoa. So, how long were you unconscious?
3 weeks I was in a coma.
3 weeks. So, and then it took you a number of weeks to become more oriented, right?
Yeah, I'd say it was about 8 or 9 weeks after that till I understood that where I was and what had happened. Every day they said they'd tell me what the date was, what happened, that I had been in an accident, and that I had a very bad injury to my brain. Plus my pelvis was crushed, and I had what they call a Hoffman device. It's hardware that goes into your bones, and then it's a framework that attaches outside of your body.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this framework in front of me.
Right.
I was non-weight bearing for like eight weeks or so. Then
So-
I had to learn to walk and do everything else.
Talk and everything else. So, how long then were you in rehab as far as like outpatient rehab?
I was at Rehab for 4 months. Then I went to Lehigh Valley, had an outpatient rehab, and I went there every day for 2 months. And then I went to my local hospital for 3 months for PT, just to learn to walk and go up and down stairs.
So, what kind of cognitive and physical deficits do you have remaining, even though it's been a long time?
Well, right now I'm dealing with something that they found. I actually had, at that time, was right above my spine, on my spine, above where the hardware is.
Mm-hmm.
2 vertebrae are, they found them to be stenosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm due to have surgery in about a week and a half. On that, they'll do a laminectomy where they take out little pieces of spine bone, fuse the 2 vertebrae together.
Right.
So 33 years later, I'm still dealing with the physical effects of that day. So actually, the physical part of it has been harder for me and more painful than the mental.
Any
Disabilities.
cognitive ones at all? Do you
Yeah,
find it?
cognitively, I can't take a lot of noise, a lot of distractions going on around me. I can't. If I'm in a restaurant that's noisy, I can't hear what the person across from me is saying.
Mm-hmm.
I can see their mouth moving, but
So
as far
attention
as
and
what
focus.
they're saying is like wow, wow, wow. That's all I hear.
And do you find that you get overwhelmed if there's too much
I
noise?
get
It's like,
overwhelmed, and it's draining physically. It drains my energy.
do you get tired quickly?
Yes.
That's common too. How are your like planning or abstract thinking skills? Like,
Well, sometimes I'm really, really good at it, but for the most part, I have a really hard time.
which is typical also,
Yeah.
like the rest of us. So a lot of the traditional kind of like cognitive and frontal lobe problems that the rest of us, I see. And one thing I've found is that, you just get used to it and just say, well, that's who I am. You don't even
Right.
think about it as brain injury symptoms. You just say, well, that's just me nowadays.
Yeah.
And the memory and all that stuff. It's like, oh, well, that's just me.
And the thing of it is, I never hit my head. It was.
You don't have to.
I had my seatbelt on,
Mhm.
and it was all from the force of the energy.
Right,
that was
deceleration injury.
for my pelvis, and then the reverberations up my spine, and along with I was moving forward
Mhm.
and then hit from the side. So
Right.
my everything in my head went around and
Well, your
around.
brain is kind of like jello, and
Yeah.
it hits a hard surface like your skull, and it tears and rips the white
Yeah,
matter and
so
the
I
gray matter.
had injuries actually all over.
Right, you had diffuse axonal injury, and that's
And
common.
with the coma, I had brainstem damage.
And swelling, I'm sure,
Yeah,
too.
so,
You had actually a pretty serious brain injury
yeah,
because, and that just rips apart the white matter and the swelling, edema, and all that stuff. So you had a serious one, so you probably had a lot. But it also depends on what you do as your job, too, whether you notice some of those symptoms. If you don't need to rely on, like, abstract thinking, you wouldn't notice. Like, if you don't have to do calculus for what you do, or you don't have to do advanced geometry, you wouldn't notice if you didn't have those, or the high-level abstraction or stuff, unless you get neuropsychological testing, and that's true for a lot of people.
yeah. Well, before my accident, I was a seamstress in a drapery workroom where I would take an order, and I made pillows and bedspreads
Ooh.
and that type of thing. And I would take the order, and then I would have to lay out the fabric, cut it out
Mhm.
to the specifications and all the specialized
Oh, that's cool.
things that they wanted, like with cushions. There's so many dimensions of that, and
Right.
everybody has special things that they want. And now my thinking's all going haywire. But anyway, I would take the order and make it from start to finish.
Mhm.
I have to plan it out on the fabric, and then make it, sew it. I make the filler. I had to take.
So pretty sophisticated thinking
Yeah,
and motor
it's-
skills. How'd you do afterwards? Were you able to
I
continue?
wasn't able to go back.
And that's no surprise
Yeah.
because all of that requires high-level abstraction, requires spatial orientation, and that's the brain injury there, and that shows how profound your brain injury was. So, and that happens to a lot of us. It's like after we just can't do a lot of the skills we did before. But you do pretty well. I mean, even despite all that. No,
Yeah, well, it's taken me a long time.
yeah.
Like I said, it's 33 years now, and it's probably taken. I'd say probably not until about the year 20 or so out that I finally started to feel more like myself.
Yeah, I would agree. It's like just until and for me, I only started to admit I had problems just in the last few years. I did my best to hide everything. And so I finally embraced admitting there's a problem. And, because I was trying to stuff it and pretend like I was perfectly fine. I wouldn't come out and admit anything. And I tried to not be seen after a certain amount of time. So I've embraced the problem, within the past couple of years. And that's led to some issues too, but I need to admit. And so it's led to communications glitches and other things, but finally admitting there's a problem for me. And so that's hard too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really, really heartwarming when I go to church and I meet someone new, and then I tell them that I had a brain injury and was in a coma. they're shocked to know that because they tell me they'd never guess that to meet me. So that warms my heart to know that.
Is there any advice you would give to people just dealing who are new survivors dealing with brain injury?
Just engulf or embrace what you love to do, and don't worry so much about all the little things. Just stick with what you know how to do and love, and yeah. Now my brain is like shutting down, so I have trouble thinking. But just do what you love and keep on. Don't give up.
Thank you. That is very good advice. I want to say thank you for being interviewed and sharing your advice, and we'll see you around again. But
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thanks. Bye.